One's recovery doesn't just take place, in their thinking or feeling better about themselves. It involves their whole life in the community.
I think we understand a lot less about the brain than we'd like to admit. It's a lot more mysterious. There are no simple answers.
There's no magic pills, there's no magic therapy that works for everyone across the board, but there are so many different things you can try.
We should all be talking about mental health. It's part of who we are.
Our children have learned to give you exactly what you want. With equine therapy, that horse is going to tell me what's going on.
24 and a half years of my life, from August of 1989 to December 4th of 2014, was mostly state hospitals.
I've had a lot of trauma in my past. I've had numerous hospitalizations for psychiatric reasons. And music is just one thing that heals me.
Alert! Hartford Hospital! We got an officer stabbed in the throat.
We need to accept that we have a mental health crisis. We have to stop being in denial about it.
These may be clinical encounters, but they're also social encounters. We need to do more. We need to do better. We need to find new ways of supporting people, empowering people. You can have a mental illness and still be a full person. You are not your mental illness.
I think what we're doing here at Musical Intervention is hard to understand. I think everybody loves the idea, but there's so many moving parts to it that it's a challenge to really see the value in it. However, what I hear on a regular basis is that musical intervention saved my life.
Wait a minute, don't you see the sadness that you bring?
This is very new kind of work, and it's different because it's non-clinical. So it's a subtle difference. The producer and the doctor have the same role to make sure that the person's in their best case scenario, the best person they could possibly be.
Don't cry, don't cry. Those tears, they lie.
I've struggled with a lot of mental illness. I've had a lot of trauma in my past. I've had numerous hospitalizations for psychiatric reasons. I've tried committing suicide numerous times. A lot of times when I'm in hospitals or, in places like residential places, I don't feel much like a person because I feel like people are just there to do whatever, and I'm just kind of going through the day-to-day things. But when I listen to music and when I play music and when I come to musical intervention, I feel like I'm a person again. I feel like I'm able to express myself. People appreciate it. And music is just one thing that heals me.
You are mine. I promise you I will stand by you.
Sadly, from a psychiatry point of view, how we often train people is to sort of formulate a particular case, so to talk about a particular person in terms of the biological factors that might be contributing to their illness. The psychosocial would come in regards to people's social circumstances and the psychological processes that might sort of interweave between the biology and the sociology. And in my lab, the interweaving is really the important part, right? So these aren't three separate things that live separately that you can list off. They actually conform and constitute one another, and they interact really strongly.
One's recovery doesn't just take place, in their thinking or feeling better about themselves, in their work with their clinician. It involves their whole life in the community, that people recover in the context of their lives in the community.
I think we understand a lot less about the brain than we'd like to admit. It's a lot more mysterious. There are no simple answers. It can be overwhelming sometimes to think about how little we know and understand, and it's really hard to sort of straddle the worlds of science and medicine, right? Medicine, we want to be very clear and confident and precise about we know exactly what's going on, and science is sort of interminable doubt and uncertainty.
Maybe some light sense in the background, something like to touch it up, especially during the chorus. This is called a mellotron. It's like a keyboard instrument, but in the old days, they would have like tape running, so it would be like a sample of like a string or something, and they would play that. Yeah? Yeah? Let's try that for the chorus. See how that does.
I often get calls from agencies like, how does your program work? And really, it's hard for them to understand that you can just literally come by and be part of the program. You just show up, you create, you collaborate with other musicians. I have a lot of experience in clinical settings, so I can keep an eye on behaviors, making sure that, that this is a safe space and that it remains a drug and alcohol-free safe space. And that was a lot of work. And it wasn't until about 3 years into it that the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, DMIS, took note to what we were doing here at the studio and provided some funding to be able to make sure that it could be sustainable for a little while. Ready?
Yep.
High harmony.
So you just want me to sing it like I do in the song?
You are mine.
You are... I don't know if I can do that.
Music has saved my life. The first thing I do in the morning is I turn on music. The last thing I do before I go to bed is turn on music. I don't know what I would do without my guitar, without my piano, without this place, without musical intervention. I would probably be in a much worse situation. I think that recording here and communicating with people, talking to people and seeing their perspective, and it just makes everything so much easier.
5 years ago, we had a really great opportunity to open up musical intervention studios at 23 Temple Street. That's really served to further the community in so many amazing ways. At the end of the day, I get to make music. That's pretty awesome. But when we get to intentionally help folks that are struggling and pursue your dreams, whether it be art, music, but there's something inside of you that always reminds you of who you are, and we want to make sure that you have the platform to do those things.
I met with Adam and just was really taken with the work that he was doing. And this was not about music therapy, which is fine, but it was about music as music and music as being a good thing in itself and supporting people's creativity and their musical interests. So you had people coming on off the street, in many cases people who were homeless, in many cases who had substance use problems or mental health problems, sometimes receiving care at the mental health center. And through working with the group, in a couple of hours they would create a song and they would share ownership of it.
I'd been studying hallucinations quite extensively, and we wondered whether music making with Adam might impact people's hallucinations and their experiences more broadly. And so it just seemed like a really beautiful marriage. After those initial planning meetings, I got the opportunity to watch one of Adam's sessions, and it was just infectious, and I was totally inspired. People who were previously sort of sitting quite quietly in the corner and perhaps responding to internal stimuli and not really engaged with what was going on would all of a sudden sort of come to life and be active and engaged and involved. And I thought, this is a sort of holistic change in the person. And I really want to see what impact it might have on the types of things that we've been measuring in a much more sort of clinical and almost stale context. We devised a project together with the whole team. We submitted it. It was funded the first time round generously by the NIH and the Kennedy Center.
The whole idea of it is it's working with people who hear voices and are distressed because of their voices. There's research now on, music has an impact on the brain and that music can soothe and help people in various ways. The idea here had to do with participation in music. So different degrees of participation leading to the ultimate participation, which was creating music.
Rat freak dudes sneaking around, acting kind of rude. On top of that,
when I come to musical intervention, I feel that I'm a part of a family. It keeps me out of trouble. It keeps me out of being on the streets. And it gives me an erythral feeling, gives me a pleasurable feeling a mutual sense, feeling a family sense, creativity, worshiping freely, getting my idiosyncrasies out to create music and to really enjoy myself fully and to really have a good time doing music.
I'm going to try.
The story goes, one century call, get cold, love soul. So the story
Have a seat at the emergency room. ASAP, we're going to be escorting.
I knew she was going to die if I didn't do it.